In lesson number 2, we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing we're going to do is look at how to get a little more sophistication into our right hand picking to play the pattern that we've already learnt in a way that's more typical of the way an experienced blues guitarist would play it. And then secondly, we're going to look at a couple of variations on the standard boogie pattern that we looked at in lesson number 1, and we're going to practice these variations on the same jam track that we used last time, the track Rock Me. Alright, let's look at this subtle addition to the right hand technique. Last time we looked at the standard boogie pattern with our right hand hitting strings 5 and 4, like this. You remember that, of course. Now, what I want to encourage you to do this time is to anchor your right hand using the heel part of the right hand. This part of the right hand resting on top of the bridge, this part of the guitar, and just easing across. So we already tried to get familiar with resting the heel of our hand on that point, but now what I want to do is bring that fleshy part, the karate chop part of your right hand, just across the bridge to where it touches the strings. What you're looking to get is this slightly muted sound. Can you hear the difference between that sound and the sound we were getting before, completely unmuted and ringing? Usually when we're playing blues rhythm guitar, we are going to want to mute those strings. Now practice that technique. If you find that you're getting no muting at all, then your right hand hasn't come across to the strings far enough. It's too far back on the bridge. Let it come to your left if you're a right-handed guitarist until you just see it come beyond the bridge to the point where the strings join the bridge. The other thing you might find is that you're getting something that's too muted. I'm exaggerating a lot there, but if you're getting something too muted, then your hand has either come too far across the bridge or it's pressing too hard. It really needs to rest there very lightly. Experiment with moving your hand forwards and backwards with a little bit less pressure and more pressure until you find the sweet spot where your mute sounds something like this. You can hear the notes, and you can hear that they are musical notes, but they just sound slightly muffled, damped or muted, as we say. Alright, great. When you've got that sound going, notice one other thing. That of each pair of notes, that being one pair and that being the next pair, notice that I'm stopping the first note of the pair. Can you hear that? I'm exaggerating it a lot there now as I slow the piece down so you can hear that. Again, that's a common blues rhythm technique. So see if you can begin to do that. The stopping of that first one is the right hand coming a little bit further across the strings or dropping the palm, not exactly the palm of the hand, but more into the fleshy part of the hand here, is just dropping down to cover the strings. And in that way I'm just stopping that first note a little bit. Okay, don't be worried if those two ideas, those two subtleties of the strumming don't come immediately, but be aware of them and keep looking for that sound in your playing. Okay, let's take a look at the two variations on our standard boogie pattern. Last lesson we learned this, which you know very well by now. What we're going to do now is on the second half of that pattern, when the ring finger goes down out of the 4th fret, we're only going to play one pick with that finger there And then we're going to take it back off again and play another pick back at the first finger fret. So that your ring finger now is going off, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Did I say that right? Let's do that again. Off, off, on, off, 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 on, off. That's probably a little bit more common than the standard version that we learned last time. So we can play a standard 12 bar like that, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to put the Rock Me track back on again, and we're going to play around the 12 bar a couple of times using this new pattern, this new variation on the boogie pattern. One, two, three, four. This time, back on A with the track continues. Alright, so there's our first variation on the boogie pattern, variation number 1, and if you've got the tab in front of you, maybe you haven't because you don't really need it, the video shows you what to play, but if you have, you can see at the bottom of the tab one line of music that's labelled alternative. And, well, that's exactly what it is. It's an alternative variation, based on the same idea we just played, except this time, after playing that pattern, off, off, on, off, instead of continuing it, we're going to miss the first down strum of the next pattern. So we're going to go off, off, on, off, miss, off, on, off, 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 on, off, miss, off, on, off. Does that make sense? You're missing the third beat of each bar if that's easier for you. 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and miss and 4 and. That can make the rhythm pattern that you're playing just groove a little bit more. Again, with this stuff there's no right or wrong. Some songs will prefer one, some songs will prefer another. And your own experience begins to teach you. But try them all, get familiar with playing them all. Here it is again, one more time. That was it on an A chord, and we're going to finish this lesson by playing it round a full 12 bar, doing the same thing when we go to the D chord, the same thing when we go to the E chord. Around the 12 bar, well, let's go 2 times around the 12 bar pattern again to the tune Rock Me. One, two, three, four. on A. Once again the music continues, but now there's no need for you to stop practicing. You can keep playing along with the backing track there. Now you know 3 different variations on the boogie pattern. Get equally familiar with all 3 so that you can drop into any one of them at any moment. Once you're comfortable with that, you're ready to go into lesson number 3, where we're going to talk for the first time about exactly what a 12-bar blues is. And we're also going to introduce another new concept that is crucial to the blues, the concept of a turnaround. So, when you're ready, check back in, lesson number 3.